Joining us this morning at Post 9, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Jim Stewart joins us. His column this week focuses on Ford and how the Mustang made the cut, even as they essentially desert the sedan as a concept.
Yeah,
good to see you, Jim.
I'm surprised this didn't get more attention, but Ford, what you think of as the iconic passenger car, is basically saying, we're leaving passenger cars. They described it to me as the commodity silhouette. It's going to be all trucks, all SUVs, all crossovers all the time, with one exception, the Mustang. And I saw that news and I thought, oh, thank God they're saving the Mustang. But why? That's what got me interested.
The whole concept was we're going to, as you say, just move around in these commoditized blocks. But Americans, I guess they assume, are going to love to drive.
Yeah, there's certainly a segment that loves to drive. That doesn't really look forward to this autonomous future where we're just sitting behind a robot. But there was this fascinating detail in the Ford earnings a couple of weeks ago where they said that their top performing vehicles, which we all know are basically the trucks and the SUVs, make 150% of the profit, which means that the non-top performing products, which basically include the passenger sedans, are losing enough to eat up 50% of the products. And, so Wall Street, love to see that they're finally focusing on the fact that they churn these passenger cars out and they're not making any money. Still, we're losing some historic names like Taurus, Fusion, which I thought was, a big hit when it came out. But back to the Mustang, I started doing some research on it. I had completely forgotten that it was Lee Iacocca who introduced the Mustang. That thing was a huge hit. The very first film appearance was in Goldfinger, the James Bond movie, a white convertible with a red interior. Bullet, they are issuing a 50th anniversary Bull edition. There was 2 U.S. postage stamps that featured the Mustang. It is really the ultimate American
Is it
fun
it's
car.
Iconic, or is it the high testosterone thing?
I think it's both. They did point out to me that 27% of the buyers of Mustangs are women. And when it first came out, it skewed women. I took my driver's test in my mother's 1967 turquoise blue notchback Mustang, and I'm telling you, when I got to drive that to the high school, I was Mr. Popularity.
Well, it's like a pink Corvette, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it definitely skews male. It's turned into the muscle car. But I think the main thing is what Ford said to me is Mustang all over the world means freedom. The freedom to get away from your parents, the freedom to take a drive down the coast of California, the freedom to put the top down. The symbolism is so great, they just couldn't give that up.
Where do you see this tariff thing going? And what was your reaction to some of the threats we heard this week?
Well, I believe in free trade, and I realize there are, exceptions to that, but this is going to hit consumers. A lot of people have voted with their own wallets that they want cheaper cars, they want quality cars, they want, in many cases, foreign-built cars. And why tax them? Why take that opportunity away from them? Well, meanwhile, hitting some of our greatest allies like Germany, Japan. This to favor what? A handful of auto workers in the middle of the country? I believe in fair competition, and I'm against car tariffs.
Seems political. Rust Belt states.
Grossly political, trying to just pick out a group of winners, favor them at the expense of basically everybody who would want to buy a foreign car.
That said, they do have tariffs in place on our exports in certain markets.
That's correct, and I think China, we've made a little progress there, that they're talking about opening it up a little bit, but I think that, 2 wrongs don't make a right. What we ought to be doing is trying to get rid of those tariffs, not slap them on ourselves. And by the way, what are we doing? We're going after the Europeans and the Japanese? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
We've been watching Weinstein's arraignment this morning. The charges now look like a 1st and 3rd degree rape. Brofman says he'll plead not guilty. You've written a lot about at least him through a Disney prism.
That's right. I met him many times in his heyday, and I think this is kind of a historic moment. Back then there was a whole different ethos, really. I never heard anything about rape, about assault, about force, but Harvey Weinstein always had these beautiful women on his arm, and I think rumors of the casting couch were rampant, and everyone assumed it was sort of consensual, but the idea that the path to stardom in a Hollywood movie might require certain, favors, that was kind of just seem to be accepted, and I'm happy to see really that that's changing. And I'm sorry to see someone like that who's a very creative guy with some great movies behind him now, caught up in this. It's horrible, but his behavior, has been rampantly unacceptable for so many years.
We'll see what the defense poses as to the degree that he pleads not guilty. It does lead us to one final point, and that is the week in media and the ongoing game theory about Comcast. This incredible piece in the Journal about ESPN over the years and how they argued cord cutting was not going to be a factor.
Well, that's just classic. When you're sitting on top of something that successful, you go in denial. I think that's just human nature. But I think this again puts the spotlight on this Time Warner decision that's looming. Could come any day now. So it won't be Memorial Day week, but you never know. Any day we're going to get that ruling. That is going to be huge. If Time Warner and AT&T win this case against the government, then open the gates, because there's going to be a lot of convergence in media.
Kramer this morning predicted government wins. You go that far?
Did?
Yeah.
No, I would not.
Let's give him a little bit of an out here, because he was kind of being.
But he was impressed by the brief.
He did his reading, and somehow he seems to think that against all odds, Jim.
Well,
but you know what? So many people think there's no way the government can win that you do start to wonder sometimes. Maybe they can win.
To say the government win is definitely a contrarian view, and I wouldn't go that far. But the conventional precedent would completely support AT&T, Time Warner. But we're in a new world here. With this administration, with this particular judge, you just don't know. And by the way, if the government does win, that also is going to be an epic decision, because you're going to see a lot of rethinking of potential plans.
Without a doubt, and has broad ramifications, not just for media, but for all vertical mergers.
Absolutely. It's going to put the whole antitrust spotlight on a completely different set of deals.
Good weekend, Jim.
Same to you.
All right, we'll see you later. Jim Stewart.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.